All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Podcast Engineering Show. My name is Chris Curran. I produce podcasts for mid to large companies, and I also run Podcast Engineering School. I teach people how to produce podcasts and make a great living from home. And every week on this show, or I should say every episode of this show, we bring you podcast production techniques on a silver platter. We talk to podcast producers, engineers, editors, and I also do these episodes by myself where I talk about a bunch of tips that I write on blog posts every week. But I have an audio engineering background in the music business, and now I've been producing podcasts for the last, it's coming up on 10 years now. And if you implement the best of what you learn here, your audio will sound much better and it'll take you less time to produce it. So I'm psyched to have a great guest today. It's Corey Marie Green. She's joining from Melbourne, Australia. So Corey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here. I think the most exciting thing is that I feel like in ordinary conversation, people want you to stop talking about audio engineering after about 30 seconds, but you want me to talk about audio engineering for a whole hour. So how nice is that?
Yes, I love it. We love to geek out. So you are the author of a new book, The Podcaster's Audio Handbook. It's a technical guide for creative people, and I will put the link in the show notes. So again, it's called Excellent. The Podcaster's Audio Handbook. So are you excited, obviously?
I'm really excited. I mean, it doesn't feel real yet, but I don't know, it kind of does. What I really like, my sort of like fantasy is to go into the bookshop and see it on the shelf, and that hasn't happened yet. They haven't shipped to Australia. I think when I see it on the shelf in the bookstore, that's when it's going to feel real. But I am excited. I'm really excited for people to read it and to improve their podcasting processes. And yeah.
And so you mentioned before we hit record that your book is mostly talking about the recording process, and it's also mostly for regular podcasters, not like audio engineers, correct? Yeah,
that's right. So I'm an audio engineer, and my background's in radio, but I work in podcasts most of the time now. And clients often come to me and they say to me, I'm not technical. And then when I sit them down and, explain whatever technical thing we have to learn that day, they're perfectly capable of getting it. But I feel like, people feel maybe a little bit intimidated by the technical side of podcasting, and it doesn't have to be intimidating. It's, it's pretty straightforward when you break it down. And so I've tried to break it down as much as possible in my book. And also I've tried to make the book fun. So it's got kind of stories in it and cartoons and yeah. So I don't know, it's a pretty good book. Oh, and it's got audio files, which is, I think, very unusual for a book. But
cool.
So readers can, learn to diagnose their own audio problems and prevent them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so now in your work that you do on podcasts, your podcast production, you're pretty much doing post-production, right? So you're not a host of a show or anything like that, correct?
Well, no, I'm not the host of a show. I do post-production. I do a lot of post-production, but I also do a lot of training of people, so helping people understand the recording process and make good recordings at home, which they then send to me to edit. And also I really love working on the content side of things. So it depends what different clients want, but sometimes they'll send me 3 or 4 unedited interviews and I've got to go through and turn that into a story.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So first off, normally we do a speed round, but let's just talk about your equipment setup right now. I mean,
okay.
What mic are you using? Where is it plugged in? What's your interface? And then maybe what software do you normally use? Let's just do a little miniature speed round for that.
Okay. I'm just going to have a little glass of water.
Oh, sure. Yes. So everybody, don't forget the link to Corey's book will be in the show notes. And also on this show, if you're just listening to this my podcast here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to send me a note and say hello. Our website is podcastengineeringschool.com. So send me a note. I love hearing from you guys. And it makes me feel nice when I know that people are actually listening. And
yeah, for sure. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, doesn't it?
It does. And even if you have criticism, bring it. Give me all your criticism. I love it.
That's a very brave thing to say to the internet. Good on you.
Yeah. All right, so let's do your little speed round here. What are you working with over there?
Okay, so you asked me about the microphone first.
Yeah, now, the signal chain. Yep.
Yeah. So the microphone, I think, is an interesting choice. So when I was doing the book, I did a whole lot of equipment testing, and obviously coming from a radio broadcast background, I thought one of the radio broadcast mics is going to win my equipment testing. But it turned out that in the home environment, the needs were different, and so you needed a different microphone. So the real issue with the home environment is, of course, noise. And I guess the secondary issue is that, home environments aren't set up to be studios, so there's, often issues with, reflections that, make it sound
standing
bad.
waves, all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and so basically needed a mic that doesn't pick up a lot of background noise, doesn't pick up reflections, and I found the Sennheiser E945, which is just a very middle of the range kind of mic, but works really well in this environment. I think that it may have been designed to be used on a live stage in a rock concert, which is a very, very noisy environment. So it's particularly good at blocking out noise. So it's just a vocal microphone. By that, I mean, of course, that that the frequency response of it favors vocals and therefore cuts out things like traffic rumble or other really low frequency noises that some of your typical broadcast mics I found were picking up.
Right.
And then what else?
I just looked it up, by the way. It's the Sennheiser E945. It's a $200 mic.
Yeah.
And it's a super cardioid pickup pattern, which is that. So that gives the effect what you're talking about. It picks up less room noise and less noise overall, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely one of the major features of it. Whereas a lot of the typical broadcast mics are more like a cardioid. And then what else? Oh, yeah, it's a dynamic.
Yep.
I see that you're using a dynamic mic. You're using one of the classic broadcast mics. What is that, an EVRE20?
That's correct.
Yes. Oh, I love that mic. If I had a studio, I would be using that mic. But I don't have a studio. I'm at home, and therefore this mic is better.
Nice.
Yeah, I reckon that's my favorite, actually, in the whole world.
Oh, cool.
So where was I? So the operating principle is that it's a dynamic, so it's not too sensitive, and that means that it's really forgiving of any sort of poor mic technique, doesn't pick up a lot of popping, sibilance, mouth noise, or anything like that. And it just works well. I mean, how do you think it sounds?
It sounds good, but I am listening on my little earbuds, so this is not my normal monitoring. So it sounds good, but I can't give I can't evaluate it very well on these earbuds. So
yeah, well, I reckon it gives a pretty good signal. Maybe not as rich as something like the EVRE20, but in terms of the home environment, I reckon that this one's a real winner. And when I was doing my equipment testing, I also tested out a number of headsets. And this actually did almost as good as a headset, which is, very impressive.
Nice.
In terms of blocking out background noise. So there you go. That's my microphone.
Great.
I've got the mic cover. Never forget the mic sock.
Right.
What else? I've got. Oh yeah.
So what's it plugged into?
Oh, what's it plugged into? I've got a Scarlett Focusrite 2i2.
Nice.
So that's just 2 channels. It's a very good unit. It's got a really good signal to noise ratio. I think that it makes a very quality signal. I was going to say before that, though, I've got it on a desk-mounted adjustable boom mic stand, which I find is a killer accessory for getting the microphone in just the right position.
Yeah, the boom arm. I'm using one too, and they're great. One thing about boom arms is I've actually never had a client who got a boom arm, like, because they don't do enough podcasting to actually buy a boom arm and clamp it to their desk and stuff. So normally I would have them get a little short stand that sits on the desk that sort of booms the mic right in front of them. And that works fine too. But the boom arms are just great because you could just move it around. You could put it out of the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can do different mic positions as well. Like if I was making a recording of something that required a lot of energy, I would record standing up, for example.
Nice.
What else? With the voiceover, I often do a recording position where I'm coming down because it really helps you to sit up straight and sort of look forward, and then you feel that your chest's open, your voice is deeper, you're more comfortable. So it's really good for that.
Nice.
But I've currently got it in a mic position where you can see my face because it's video today.
Yes.
And you've got to make eye contact in an interview. So,
although I will say that, like, we're using Riverside.fm, which has been working great for me. But on my I'm using my video camera on my computer, I'm pointing at it right now. But like you're down here, so it's like I'm trying to look at you. But if I look at you, then I'm not looking at you.
Yeah,
then it looks like I'm looking down. Yeah. Anyway,
am I doing the same thing to you?
I don't know. I actually, you're so small on my screen right now that it looks like you're looking at me, so I feel great.
Oh, good. Excellent. So yeah, I reckon the boom mic arm stand, it doesn't set you back that much money, and I reckon it's really going to improve your recordings. So yeah, that's one of my hot tips.
Nice.
And so then what do we have next? Oh yeah, we've got headphones. I've just got the AudioTechnica AKAI M50X. They're about $200 Australian. You'll have to say what that is in American dollars.
Yeah, I don't know, but I thought they're like $150.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
And they're really good. A lot of audio engineers use these headphones. I think they're known for being really detailed and accurate, basically.
So one thing, so for podcast production, like obviously everybody needs headphones. Like headphones are the most common way to monitor the audio. But it's interesting. If I were to test out a pair of headphones, I wouldn't play like spoken word podcast. I would play music, right? That I know. I'd play some songs that, maybe some old Metallica songs, like songs that I literally know what it sounds like because I've heard it 5,000 times, right? That's how I would judge headphones. So have you done that with your headphones?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That would be the Beatles for me because, my dad played me that since I was a little kid.
Nice.
But interestingly, when they were developing the MP3, one of the real tests of fire for the MP3 was it was an a cappella song. What was it? I can't remember the name of it, but it was a particular a cappella song that was big at that time because that was really the hardest thing to get right when you're taking out. Well, as you know, like an MP3 takes out something like 90% of the data,
right?
And when you're trying to figure out what 10% to leave in, that a cappella recording, the human voice was the real test of fire. And I think, that must be an evolutionary thing because it's so important to our survival as a social species to be able to talk to each other and communicate, that our ears are intensely tuned into the human voice.
Yeah, that is a great point. I agree. It's like the way we hear the human voice, like there's so much in the human voice. It's not just a couple sound waves going through the air. It's like you can literally, you can hear all the sound waves, you can hear all the frequency range and all that, but you also hear deeper into it, like Like you can hear someone's mood or their attitude, or you can sort of hear a lot. And so that makes sense when they were doing that, to hear the human voice, you would be able to more easily tell is that a good representation of it or not, right? Because we're so used to hearing that. Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, maybe we all need to be testing out our microphones on the human voice. Our headphones, probably both, rather than Metallica or the Beatles. Maybe a bit of both.
Well, yeah. So the reason I brought up music was only because it's something I've heard that many times, right? So that's the only reason. Like, so, I mean, engineers do this all the time. When they go to a new studio to mix a song, they don't just sit down and start mixing a new song. They literally play probably about 30 minutes of music through the speakers that they know, or previous mixes they've done, because that gives them the vibe of the room and the frequencies coming off the speakers and how it sounds and feels. So yeah, so I think for the average person also, that's easier to do, right? Take one of your favorite songs and listen, and then that's a good way to evaluate. But of course, listening to the human voice is great too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing you really have to evaluate with headphones is, I guess the slew. So, you've got to listen to drums, because that's the hardest thing to turn into electricity and then back into sound again.
Oh, the drums, like the transients and stuff?
Yeah.
Totally.
So yeah. Anyway, back onto my equipment. What else? Oh yeah, so it goes into the computer. I've got a MacBook Pro. And I'll go into the software in a bit, but then as well, I monitor out of, I've got some nice JBL speakers, and they're pointed at my couch, so I sit down and have a listen to my mixes on the nice speakers. But actually, most of the time people are listening to podcasts, according to Statista polling, they're listening through their smartphone. So I also run all of my mixes through my smartphone, which I set to mono, kind of quietly as a sort of test of fire. If it sounds good on the smartphone, I think it's gonna probably sound good anywhere, and especially if it sounds good on the smartphone and the headphones and the speakers, I reckon you're doing all right.
That's pretty cool. So when you play it through your phone, because I know my phone is it does play in stereo. Like there is a speaker on this side and that side. So you're producing the audio in mono and then playing it through the phone. Is that what you're doing?
No, I tell my phone to play it in mono, just because there's quite a few smartphones that still only have one speaker. And so I just want to take that into account. Anyway, you have to listen to a mono mix of anything that you're making, right?
Yeah. I mean, in theory and in practice for especially music production, definitely. That's why we always used to have the Auratone, the one Auratone speaker, the small one sitting right in the middle of the console.
Exactly. So I see the smartphone as the modern equivalent of that, because so many people are listening through a smartphone.
Totally.
Yeah. So I was going to take you through later on how I play it through my smartphone, but would you like to hear that now? Would you like to see that now?
Well, I just want to know what app you're using to make it mono. How are you doing that?
Oh, well, that's actually one of the accessibility features of the smartphone. So I just go into settings, and then you can just kind of put into the search thing mono, and then it comes up. So
got it.
Mono audio, it's just an accessibility thing, and yeah, you just turn it on.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so I'm sure that probably works on Apple and Android as well. So
yeah, I think it's for people that, only have one working ear, basically.
Right.
If they're listening through headphones, they'll want to listen to all their audio in mono.
All you one earbud people who I hear so much about, you better put your phone into mono mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know who you are.
Is that bitterness to do with like the hours that you spend getting the mix right, and then you just think of somebody listening in one earbud on the train, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Yep. It happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to imagine that all of the work I produce is going to be listened to on, the most fabulous speakers in a quiet room, but I don't think we're in the that sort of glamorous industry. That's more classical music.
Yeah, that's my argument to people who don't want to use any compression. My argument is always that what you just said, people are not sitting in a perfectly silent listening room with perfect speakers, hi-fi sound system in absolutely dead silence. That's not how people are listening. They're in the real world, and when they're in the real world, there's background noise. And then when there's background noise, you have to produce the audio so it sits above the background noise, even when someone trails off.
Yes.
When they trail off and they just start talking and they just, they kind of trail off.
Well, they've been thinking about that in radio for years. So, I mean, if you've ever thought that your favorite song sounds different on the radio, and that's because it's so compressed. I don't know if this is the same in every country, but in Australia, FM radio has like a 10 dB range that all of the music and talking goes through, which is just brutal,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Radio just foo-bars all the audio. It's just...
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. We all enjoy it. It's radio. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they should change, but... I never heard that it's a 10 dB range from like the loudest to the softest is only 10 dB.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. You're driving in a car, all that background noise.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then when I'm mixing a podcast, I actually go with the Apple Podcasts Standard, which is, so they have the loudness standard of -16 in stereo and the true peak of I think it's -1, but I actually extended it out to -0.5. So yeah, I like to keep it there because I think Apple probably knows how people are listening to their products, and yeah, that's a standard I use. What about you? Do you have a loudness standard that you mix to?
Yeah, same. I think that's -16 for stereo and -19 for mono. I think that's like the unofficial standard pretty much everywhere, although it gets weird because like apps like Spotify or Amazon Music, they're used to dealing with music, so they're actually two loudness units louder.
They are, yeah.
So Spotify, they want or I don't know if they want -14 stereo, but
they will
anyway,
definitely
it gets confusing.
Make your audio to that standard. They'll definitely change your audio if you give them -16, they'll change it to -14. But I think that's all right. It's only 2 dB.
Right, and I feel that way. Is like we'll go with the unofficial standard, and then if they adjust it a little bit up or down, it doesn't really matter. I mean,
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah, so it's good having that standard, although that's sometimes hard to explain to clients because, once you've compressed things, they wonder why there's so much background noise now.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's rough. But you use RX. We could talk about RX later.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on audio repair in my job. So I do wish a little bit that, people would send me high quality recordings and listen to my advice with more care. But I know that not everybody cares about audio quality as much as you and me.
Right, but you do coach your clients, right? Like when you bring them on, you sort of talk to them about what equipment they have or what they might need, right? All that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, and the best mic techniques and yeah, I do all sorts of coaching. If they're recording outside, how to record in the wind. That was one that came up recently. So yeah, but some clients are more receptive to it than others.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I've always had clients that no matter how much I told them about these types of little things, like they listen and they kind of say yes, but then so they don't understand, and I don't know. The audio goes out how it goes out, and I guess they might not mind, so it's okay.
Yeah, if they're happy, I'm happy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the important thing is that they're happy and that they feel like they're putting out something that expresses who they are. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's not for everybody a perfect recording. I mean, it's a podcast. It's a bit more chill, isn't it?
In general, yeah. I'll tell you though, a little too much background noise is one thing. But I've had clients, and I'm sure we've all had clients that recorded their own conversation, and even though they have a really nice microphone right in front of them, their computer will be set to pick up the computer microphone.
Oh, no.
And then so the actual audio that's recorded, it sounds like they're 10 feet away, down a stairwell. I mean, that's like next level horrendous, but that's rare.
No. And then you've got the expectation of having some amazing machine that will be able to fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough. But RX goes a long way for stuff like that.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. So you got your mic, you got your interface, and now just real quick, the software you use. Let's not get into the software right now, but just tell me, what software do you use? Well, most of the time I use Pro Tools. Love a bit of Pro Tools. It just gives you every option. It's such a powerful program. So I went to audio engineering school and we learnt there, but we learnt that on music, but it's also really great for any kind of post-production, I feel like.
Right.
And then also I use RX, Izotope RX 8, and that's a really powerful tool for audio repair. So those are my main ones. And then sometimes when I'm just having fun, I make little recordings of my own. I did one recently, which was the famous poem Jabberwocky. It was a little challenge to myself to create. I did the poem, and then I recorded all the sound effects, and then I wrote music that I put underneath it. So yeah, I'd like to get Logic and really get more into music, but I've sadly using GarageBand at the moment. But anyway, we'll work on that.
Yeah, well, that's good. So I want to bring up a point here that, for everyone listening, and by the way, I do the same thing. I record my own music. I'm always trying things. I'm trying different things. And so it's really good to try different things and to try new software. And I'm not saying you have to, but if in your travels you use some different software, that's actually really good for overall learning. So if you're listening to this and you're just use the same program all the time, again, just don't be afraid to try another program. Not that you have to change what you're doing, but if you have a different use case, sometimes that's a good excuse to try something new, and then you get to sort of reflect on everything you've learned up to this point, and then it's just really great for learning. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And different software just has different strengths, right? Some software is better for mixing, some software is better for composing, some software is better for audio repair,
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, one software that I really love, though I never use it enough, is Ableton, because it's just crazy. It works. It's totally different to every other DAW. I know that audio engineers either love it or hate it because it's so weird, right. But it's so powerful, and you can do just nuts things with it.
Yeah, I agree. I've tried Ableton. I've been dabbling with it for years, and I agree. It is an unbelievable program. It's just insane, and it's it's so hard to even understand it. The whole thing. It's hard, but
it is. Yeah, it is really hard. I mean, usually when you switch from one audio program to the other, you can pretty much pick it up, but not Ableton. It's a totally different ball game.
Yeah, which is awesome. But I wonder if people, maybe like the first software they learn is Ableton. That I bet they would have an advantage, right? Because you just learn that without learning everything beforehand. So, I mean, it would still be confusing, but it might be better. Might learn quicker.
Yeah. And with Pro Tools, so I really must be one of the last people in the world who learnt on an almost completely analog environment. So I was working at a radio station that basically, they had good equipment. They just hadn't updated to the digital world. And so, yeah, I learnt on analog, which is amazing. And with Pro Tools, I could see that Pro Tools was just a digital version of this analog machine that I already understood. So, it wasn't that hard to, I was like, oh, this is like the patch bay. This is like that button that I know.
Right.
But if you learn on analog and then you went to Ableton, you'd be like, you just crying.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. So Len, let's, what should we talk about next? Should we get into some more of, should we go through your post-production steps maybe? Like the general steps you take?
Yeah, for sure. So, well, in my book, I mostly talk about recording, but I'm going to take us to the point where we've made a recording. So in Pro Tools, okay, so we're doing pretty much what I would consider a voiceover. So step one, I've recorded the same thing a bunch of times. And in the end, I chose this take, which is going to take us to step two. So this is what I've considered the best take, and all I've added to it now is gain and fading in and fading out. So this is where you'd start if you had, my equipment and my microphone technique. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio, giving a shout out to listeners of the Podcast Engineering Show.
Yes! Yeah,
yes!
Oh yeah.
So I reckon that's not bad. And if you buy my book and read it, that's pretty much where you're going to end up with a product like that. And then if you then become an audio engineer and add a bunch of processing to it, it's going to sound more like this. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio, giving a shout out to listeners of the Podcast Engineering Show.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's
much
just
more upfront, present, it's just right here now, yeah.
So how did I get from there to there? Interesting question.
Inquiring minds want to know, Corey.
Big reveal. So because it was a decent recording to start off with, I actually didn't have to do that much stuff. So what did I do? So started off with a filter.
Okay.
Is this the first part of your signal chain, Chris?
No. Okay. Where do I filter? I think wherever I'm EQing is usually where I filter. Typically, I mean, yeah, but it doesn't.
I always do subtractive EQ before compression, and then additive EQ after. So that
nice.
Yeah. So you got to take out the bad, and then enhance the good. So that's kind of one of the principles that I work from. Thank you, Toc Norris.
Nice.
Yeah, so in this case, we're taking out the bad. So that'd be, we've got an 80 hertz high pass filter that's just rolling off any kind of nice rumble. And then I took the file and I went over to Izotope, where I'm taking out even more bad. So, okay, we haven't taken out any bad yet. So here's, hi. So if we have a listen to, say, here, I don't know if you can hear this, but you might be able to see it. So like 6 months ago or something, there was this strange kind of, just this tiny sound that was present on all of my audio equipment. and I couldn't figure out what it was. And so I got my portable recorder and my microphone, and I walked all around my house, and I'm like, what is this sound? It's just driving me mad. And I think it's the electricity, because it's the loudest at the ceiling light and at the heater that's built into my wall. So something happened to the electricity, which now appears on all my recordings, which is totally maddening. And if you go over to Izotope, and so the blue line there that's your typical audio file as you would recognize it. Here we'll just have blue. And this is the spectral readout. So this is how much at any one point in time each frequency is present on the track. Now, if you have a look here, right at the top, at this line, that is the electricity. Can you see it?
Yeah, right around 16 kilohertz. Yep.
Yeah. So that's and then it's here again around about 4.5. 4.5, and then around about 9,000 there's like the harmonic of that. So that's
got it.
Yeah, so that's utterly maddening. So that's going to be the first thing that I treat. Now, Izotope has a voice denoise, but it also has spectral denoise, which is very, very powerful.
Yeah, this is the one I use. I love the spectral denoise.
Oh, so many options. Do you want me to just... So I have, look, fixing electricity sound.
Nice. You saved presets for, yes.
Yeah. But I saved a preset for this file. So this is engineering show. So do you want me to go through setting that, or should I just turn it on?
Yeah, if you want to show how you got it, you can, sure.
Okay, well, we'll go back to default. All right, so where to start? So actually, I wanted to... So you're probably going to highlight some of the blank space. Yeah. Before I got to that, I also really wanted to show you just how bad this sound is with the spectrum analyzer. So look at that. Whoa. Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, and then we also have this whole area here. So this is below speech. It peaks about 56 hertz, and I reckon that's traffic rumble because I live in the city. Okay. So we're going to treat that as well. So we're going to highlight some of that sound, some of the noise, as much as we can. So there's a fade out, which is unfortunate actually, but yeah. So we've got a bit of the noise. Learn. Okay. And you click learn. Yeah, so now it's had a good old learn. Yeah, it mapped it. So this is core. So let's see. Oh yeah, we've got to preview that. Hi, this is Corey Murray. So hi, this is Corey. So you can hear there's like a bit of a pumping or a gating effect where the sound has been taken out in between the words, but you can still hear it underneath the words. So that's By the way, the quality there, I always use the best. Oh yeah, I was getting to that. Oh, okay, good. Sorry. Yes, but the best is the best for a reason. It's the best. Yeah, but yeah, we can turn that on. Sure. And you can once again see my issues here. So we're going to go with preview. Engineering show. What are you doing? Engineering show. Oh, there's some kind of a pre-roll on it. Why it's a little pre-roll. It starts before the selection, and it rolls right into it and through it. Yep. How do I turn that off? Do you know? I don't think you can turn that off, but you'll still hear the effect on the region that you choose, so it's not a big deal. All right. So my first step here is I'm just going to apply the spectral denoise that I prepared earlier. So now we can hear the difference on that. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio, giving a shout out to listeners of the Podcast Engineering Show.
One thing I'll say is you're removing 18.6 dB right now. Mm-hmm. But usually when I remove that much of the noise, it sort of destroys the quality of the person's voice. But what you just played, again, I'm not monitoring on my normal monitors, but that didn't sound that bad at all.
Yeah, well, I went to a lot of effort not to destroy the quality of my voice. So I'm certainly taking, there's a lot of reduction, but you can see that I've used this curve here to really only reduce, so what have we got, above 18,000 hertz with a bit of a roll-off, and this is below, 106 hertz. And so I use the smoothing algorithm here and just listened basically to what sounded good and took out the problem areas and left in the voice.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's...
So go ahead and render that. Click render. I want to see the...
Okay, render. There we go.
Yeah, you see how the background of the wave just got a lot darker? Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So we took out a lot of noise on that. And then the next step that I wanted to take us through was, well, there wasn't really that much mouth noise, but I really like the mouth noise removal. The
mouth de-click.
The de-click. It's so good. It's so easy to use.
No, but that's the de-click. There's also a mouth de-click.
I find this one better.
Oh, cool.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like the modules are slightly different, and then so it's like what you feel good using and then what you hear. So that's it.
Yeah. So this low latency algorithm works best for mouth clicks, and also, as it states, is low latency. So we've got a little bit of a click here, so I'm just going to use that to set the sensitivity. So apologies for the click. So we're going to output clicks only. Ooh, nasty.
You know what?
Yeah.
I don't think we're hearing your. No, wait, we are. What am I thinking? Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I don't hear that click though, but it's okay.
Okay, so the sensitivity of 3 is about right.
Okay.
Hi. This is yeah. So let's have a listen to that now. Preview. Hi. This is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio giving a shout out. So there wasn't like, due to mic technique, there wasn't like a huge amount of mouth clicks in there, but I feel like once you take out those few that are there, it just makes it just sounds cleaner, it just sounds nicer.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm going to render that.
Nice.
So there you go. That's just a tiny change to clean it up. And then, all right, so I sort of prepared this earlier. So now this file that's in here, you can see that I've called it best take isotoped. So it's already been isotoped.
Got it.
So we were working with this file that was at the top, and now I've earlier done the same thing in isotope and then brought it into Pro Tools, and now we're working with that file.
Right.
And so
first you do the roll off.
Yeah. So I took out the bad, and now, now we're going to enhance the good. So next thing we're going to do is compression.
I'm so glad you're using MaxxVolume. I actually bought this, but I haven't used it yet, but it seems like such a cool plugin.
Oh, it's so good. I use it all the time. It's really good. Like it's just really smooth. It doesn't, it's not like crunchy compression. And also the low level compression. So for our listeners, that's bringing up the quiet sounds to match the loud sounds, as opposed to bringing down the loud sounds to match the quiet sounds, which is much of a muchness you might think, but it's just smoother, right?
Yeah, and this plugin does it both, right? It compresses from the top, but then it also brings up the lower, and you can adjust both, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's why it's called MaxxVolume. It really smashes things.
Nice.
So I reckon this. So we've got some peaks kind of here and here, and this is a nice mid-level bit that you might want to bring up. So so you have to turn. Well, I'll turn them all off. So you turn them on and off using that. So this file actually doesn't need that much compression, but so I like to have a look on how much compression I need to use. So I haven't paid for this plugin. I'm sorry, Izotope, but I paid so much money for your entire suite. So I just, and this plugin was meant to come with it, but it doesn't.
Well, no, the loudness control is that's the same module in RX.
Exactly. So I just don't want to pay for it twice.
No, but wait. Within your DAW, you can probably bring up the plugin. You probably have to do it on the channel, but you can bring up the Izotope loudness control that you already own, I believe.
No, well, you would think so, but actually, for some reason, when I contacted Izotope, they were like, yeah, that one doesn't appear in Pro Tools. And I was like, but that's strange because the individual plugin does.
Oh,
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah,
just the
weird.
way it works. So I didn't want to pay for it twice, so that's why it's the demo.
Right.
So anyway, I just like to use this to analyze, right? So where are we starting from? Okay, that's not too bad. It actually doesn't need a whole lot of compression, although we are going to need to bring it down a little bit so that we can add EQ later. So we just know that we can be pretty gentle. So I'm going to highlight this bit. This is Corey Murray Green. And then see this little Corey Murray Green line here. This is Corey Murray Green. Okay, that's enough of Corey Murray Green. So you have to, if you have a look at this, so you want to bring that up to say that anything this is Corey Murray Green below that line, when you turn it on,
it'll bring up
turned up by this much. So I decided on 4 dB, and then I did use the gate, but it's actually more of an expander, even though it's called a gate, because there's a bit of a breath here once you bring it up that you can hear, and that's the original. So just added the expander on that.
Just pushing it down a little more. I like it.
Yeah, because I like having the breath in because, you're a human, not a robot, but, you just don't want too much breath. You don't want to sound like you have emphysema or something. And then the high level, so that's just your average compression. I just set that, set that around there. Trench, and set that. Trench, so good. Trench, there we go. Around about 3 dB of compression, just make it nice and gentle.
Audition it again. Just play that a couple more times.
Trench.
There you go.
That's kind of like a cool song, Trench.
Nice.
Trench.
Sample that.
Yep. So and then this gain thing's important. Basically, it just brings the whole thing down to make up for the fact that it's brought everything up. So I had to turn it down by 2 dB. So then that brings us up to, we'll just have a listen. We'll just...
There's also, by the way, there's a plugin that Waves has. It's called MV2. And it's related to MaxxVolume, but it might be like a simpler version. I haven't played with either of them yet. So
interesting.
But anyway, let's continue.
So this is before. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green. And this is after. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of. So I mean, that's so smooh.
It's
but
very
also,
nice.
it's louder. And then if you have a look, I've also got the Waves meter. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green. That's looking not too bad. Audio. Hi. So my peak's around 3.3. That gives me some room to do the EQ, and then my LUFs are about -21. That's close to what we want. Nice. EQ. So a bit more of a roll off here, because there's just a bit more work to do, I reckon. And then I've just basically enhanced the format of my voice, and this is more like the body of my voice. So I'll so the format sounds like. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green. So it's just a bit more present. And then now it's got a bit more body. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green.
Yeah,
And
subtle but real nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just a bit of air. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green. You can kind of hear that more in the breath. So if you just bypass the whole thing, hi. It's just, it's just the same thing but a bit more shiny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a bit more, it's like you, but it's the best of you kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a great way to put it.
And then I came back because there was really no sibilance on the track, but then once I added the compression and the EQ, so at this point in time, come back to you, I would usually listen a number of ways. So I've been listening through my headphones, but then I would listen through my computer speakers and the phone. Did I show you that? No, I never did. So I've got this program here called Airfoil, and on my phone I've got a the same program, Satellite. Just turn it on, and then you select this, and there's heaps of lag, but it's still quicker than bouncing your program and bouncing your audio file and uploading it to your phone. So
Got it.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, actually, we can't listen to it because we're on a online call. But that would be how I would listen on my phone, and then I also listen on the speakers. And one of the good things about my laptop speakers is that they really just pick up sibilance so much. So I noticed that after I'd added compression, I had introduced some sibilance. So because you're making the quieter stuff louder, so
it's
bringing up the S's. So I thought there was here just a little bit. This is Corey Murray Green. This is Corey. Look,
this. Yep.
This, and if there was really only one instance of sibilance, I would usually just turn it down manually. But for the sake of this, I used a de-esser. Now, so this is before the compression. So I've used a broadband de-esser. Usually my favorite is wave sibilance, but it's like every sibilance is different, and every time you have to figure out how to fix it, which is, it's a really, I find a really hard thing to treat. So the standard de-esser that comes with Pro Tools was the answer this time. And you can have it just turning down the high frequencies, but in this case, I just very gently had it doing broadband compression, which I find works better before this sort of compression. But then usually if the sibilance is bad and I got to add some more de-essers, then I'll do them after this compression, and they would be high frequency only.
Got it.
So that's more like, this is the one that's kind of doing most of the meaty work, and the other ones are finessing it. But yes, somehow that sounds really open and clear and doesn't take away from the voice. So with the de-esser, it sounds like, this is Corey Murray Green. This is it's just a tiny change, but sounds all right. And you can see that the range is as low as I could humanly make it. So the end product. Giving a shout out to listeners of the Podcast Engineering Show. Cool. So that's where I got to.
Nice.
And then, do you have any questions? Because I do have another thing that I can show you. Yes.
Well, when you produce audio for your clients, this is generally the same thing you're doing for all your client work as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except usually with a lot more audio repair.
Got it.
Yeah. So, and then I guess there's like kind of, I don't know, different things like if people make a remote recording like this, there's usually, specific issues to that, or, I don't know, it depends. Outside recordings is a whole nother thing. You've got to deal with the background noise.
Right.
But this is pretty much what I do. day in, day out.
Cool. And so you said you had something else to show us?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, I wrote some very crappy music, but I thought you might be interested
Okay.
in how the processing sounds, like how you would fit in a voiceover underneath music. Shall we go into
cool.
that?
Yeah, let's do that. That's a great thing to talk about, because the intros of podcasts are obviously where a lot of times there's music playing and then the host comes in talking, and the amateur way to screw that all up is to either the music is way too loud and the voice is buried, or the opposite, where the music is really low and then the host comes in, hey, welcome to the show, and it just blows the top of your skull off. So getting this right is actually really important, right?
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? It's an accessibility issue as well, because, okay, first of all, making a clear recording is an accessibility issue because, some people are hard of hearing, some people don't have the best equipment, and podcasting is so important, and you want to make it as accessible to as many people as possible, right? Like, if everyone in the world is listening to podcasts, you don't want this section of society to miss out. So, first of all, that's important for making a clear recording. And then second of all, once you start layering with music, that, that's really when it confounds people who are hard of hearing, and you really want to get that right. So I do err on the side of having the music a bit quiet, I must say. But let's have a listen.
Yeah.
Here we go. So this is actually what I do in real life. I do tend to save it and start new sessions because I just find that easier to work with. So let's have a look. So I've done some fancy routing. I don't know if you can see that. So the unprocessed file is just going straight to the master. The process file is going to submaster. And then also all of the music is going to a music sub, which then goes on to the sub.
Got it.
Yeah. So from all that fancy routing, we can actually just listen to the unprocessed music with less processing on the music. So, for example, no ducker. So be gentle about my musical abilities. It's just something I do for fun. You ready?
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio, giving a shout out to listeners of the Podcast Engineering Show. So that's without the processing.
Oh, that was such a weird sound. It caught my attention. Like I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking of like music or a guitar or like a drums or a guitar, but that was just like a synth, right?
Yeah. I just
totally cool.
I thought it was fun. I was thinking,
I loved it.
Spooky, And then here it is with processing. So I think it's kind of subtle, but listen to whether or not the intelligibility of the voice is better. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio, giving a shout out to listeners of the Podcast Engineering Show.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, the vocal sounds great, and the music is very much tucked in the background. Like, personally, I think you could probably turn up the music quite a bit. Like,
yeah, I think
6
that you
dB,
could.
something like that.
Okay, well, why don't we give that a try and see if that?
Let's do. Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah,
just
and by
see
the way,
what happens.
this is taste we're talking about here. This is, I mean, the way you have it is good. It sounds great.
So I've got a ducker on it. So we're going to have to, first of all, we'll just turn the music up. 6 dB, you say?
Yeah, why not?
Let's just see what happens. And then we'll probably have to adjust the ducker. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio. What do you reckon, Chris?
4.5 dB up is what I think instead of 6.
Okay. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio.
That's
less,
pretty good.
More? I feel like less. Why don't we go with 3?
Yeah, I could go with plus 3 probably would be good.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's try that. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio, giving a shout out to listen. So I was particularly then listening to things like the t and the sir, because they're kind of tiny sounds that get lost behind music, I find. Mm-hmm. And I think we got the sir. Transducer Audio. So, all right, that sounds all right, except for the quality of the music. But
it's so cool though. It's like, yeah,
it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So, well, first of all, I wanted to talk about why I chose that music. It wasn't just a matter of taste. So, this is what I learned in audio engineering school, which is that there is some music which sits under voice a lot better than other music. So, music that's in the same frequency range as voice is obviously going to be a problem. So something, like the guitars have that real peak around 1 or 2K, which is also a point where the voice has a peak. So that could be a bit of a problem. And then the other thing is that a huge part of the intelligibility of voice, where I want to look at your face again because it feels weird just talking to my screen.
Oh, okay.
So a huge part of the intelligibility of voice comes from the consonants, right? The t and the k, and that is very similar to a drum beat, right? So like the little like so anything that really has those really fast transients can really interfere with a person's ability to understand voice, and even things, like a piano has a faster transient than, say, like a bowed instrument. So just to make my job easier, I didn't use any percussion, although in real life I might use percussion in the lead up before the voice comes in. But I didn't use any percussion at all. I made it very quickly. Where was I? Oh, yeah, and I didn't,
nice.
I used instruments that really had very soft attacks, essentially.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's where I started. And then where did I go next? Oh, yeah, so...
Show us the ducking, how you did the ducking.
Can I just get to that? So before that, I did EQ. So if you have a look at this EQ, it's basically opposite day from the EQ that was on my voiceover.
Right.
So, I'm enhancing this in my voiceover. I'm taking it out of my music. So that's basically how I EQ music. And and then ducking. So... so this is a compressor that's on the music file, and it's side chained into so I've got a send that's coming from the voiceover file, which is here, and that's side chained here and here. And so when you play it, you can see that it's turning the music down. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green. Hi. Now, with compression, usually when the thing you're compressing is loud, there's more compression, right? And when it's quiet, there's less. But you kind of want the same amount of compression regardless when you're trying to use it as a ducker, because, if you're talking quietly, you'd almost want more compression, right? To turn the music down further so you can hear it more. And so to achieve that, I made the ratio like really, really, really super low. And you'll notice that even though these two bits of voiceover are quite different, we're getting about 3 dB of compression either way. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green. So that's not too bad. And then I made the attack super quick. There's no knee on it. I just, as soon as I talk, I just want that that ducker to come in. And then I made the release fairly quick as well, just 70 milliseconds there.
By the way, sometimes with releases on duckers, I actually turn the release up a little like when you change the release, it changes the way the voice sounds over the music. So that's a good thing to like sort of just move around and see where it sounds best.
Okay. Can you explain how it changes how the voice sounds?
So if the release is longer, then the music will stay ducked longer. So the music will stay down. So as the person's voice is sort of trailing off, the music will stay down a little more before it comes back up.
Awesome.
So it's a subtle thing, and it when you just mess with it and play with it, you'll hear a difference, and then you just use your ears to sort of put it where it sounds best, really.
Why don't we give that a try? I like the idea.
Okay.
So where am I? Here, this bit's a bit quiet. So see, we're not really getting much compression there. But what if we put out the release? Ooh, a bit. It's Corey Murray Green. That's. Do you reckon that's an improvement?
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Right, let's try that.
Try it there, yeah.
Murray Green. Maybe we'll make it very different. Murray Green. Yeah, I like that better because it's kind of more consistent, basically. Because you almost don't want the music to come back in between those two things.
Right.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that. Yeah.
Let's have a listen. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio, giving a shout out to listeners of, I reckon that's an improvement. I'm keen on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So I like how you're doing that.
Yeah, so that's
Sweet.
where I got with that. Oh yeah, and I just added a bit of reverb. Actually, I was thinking last night this Labs thing actually I love. Have you come across this? This is the Spitfire Labs. They have the most crazy stuff that they've sampled. It's really cool. So this is frozen strings. I don't know if they literally froze a string. I'm sure that they would if they could.
Oh, right.
But there's so many options. I kind
So
of
this is a reverb?
No, it's not a reverb. It's a sample.
Oh, it's a sample. Okay.
Yeah. They have samples like experimental, like thunder and bird song and wind and bird song and
so this is the tone that you used for that music that we were just hearing.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So I just made some MIDI data,
right,
and then I fed it through this program, which gives us the sample.
Right.
But yeah, some of the stuff they do is just really weird. This is a train platform, and I check them out. Some of their stuff's free, some of it you pay for. But yeah, also cool. It comes. Oh no, I turned the reverb off. That's good. So it comes with its own reverb. So I turned it off so that now I could send both things through the same reverb, so they theoretically sound like they're in the same room.
Okay.
And then also I was thinking along the lines of I've got my voiceover that's panned right to the middle, and then the music's panned left and right. So that's another way of creating separation.
Nice.
And so that's all the ways I think that I went through and created separation on these two tracks. And
nice.
the outcome was pretty all right. Do you want to hear it again, or I think that's all I've got to
let's hear
say.
it one more time.
Okay, so before sounds like this. Actually, I'll also turn that off. Now is that and just for the sake of argument, I'm gonna pan the music center. So now we're really gonna have very little separation here. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio, giving a shout out to listeners of the Podcast Engineering Show. So then,
by the way, I think when you made the music mono, it seemed to make it louder. So that
true.
Yeah, that was a little.
So we'll have to turn it down by 3 dB.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Cool. All right. Just for the sake of science, let's try that again. Okay. Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio, giving a shout out to listeners. Okay. And then with all the separation that we did, and also the fact that this is the processed track as opposed to the unprocessed track, so it's got, it's clearer and more present as well. Hi. Wait, we have to turn it up. So... Hi, this is Corey Murray Green of Transducer Audio, giving a shout out to listeners of the Podcast Engineering Show.
Nice.
So there you go. So it's
Great.
kind of it's really subtle, but it's what makes the difference between something that sounds really professional and something that doesn't, and accessibility as well. Yes,
all very important stuff. So this is great. So all right. So before we finish up, because we're getting close. So again, I'm going to have a link to your book in the show notes, and folks can check you out. Are you also on social media and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm going to have to look up my own Twitter.
Well, you can email it to me. I'll put it in the show notes.
I'll email it to you. Yeah. Yep. And I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, if anyone's on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I'll put the links in the show notes. And so, all right. So what's next for you? You're doing production. So, and you're going to be promoting your book. I'm sure you're going to be doing a lot more interviews. And then, what are your sort of mid to long term goals? Is it just to get more clients and just to do more production?
Yeah, I'd love to get some more clients for sure. And oh God, what are your hopes and dreams, Corey? Okay, so medium-term goal is I want to make my own podcast about the history of microphones. So I've been working on that lately. I've got quite a few ideas about that. I don't know about you, but I am absolutely obsessed with microphones. I totally love them. I think that obsession, it runs from, I remember the first day that, it was around about when I was first learning audio engineering at that radio station, and I wondered whether or not the physical design of microphones would have an effect on how it picks up sound. Now, of course, you now, and obviously I now know that that's very much the case, but then I also ran into all this really interesting historical information about microphones. So that's forthcoming.
By the way, I did an episode. I interviewed Michael Pedersen. He's the director of corporate history at Shure. And it's episode 62 of this show. So if you could check it out, episode 62 with Michael Pedersen. It was great because we talked about all like the old school mics, the ceramic mics, and the carbon mics. It was just insane. It was awesome.
Yeah, and wasn't the Shure SM57, didn't that have something to do with Woodstock? Wasn't that like debuted at Woodstock? Isn't that right?
Oh, I forget. I don't know.
Okay. We'll have to both look that one up.
I'm curious about that because I thought the 57 wasn't that created for the President of the United States?
I don't think it was created for him, but it was certainly used by the President of the United States from its creation up until the end of the Obama era.
Okay, so now we all have to go listen to episode 62 because I forgot what he told us. Dang it.
But that's quite fascinating. That's actually the piece of information that got me started on the history of the microphone, because I thought that was quite fascinating. And I wondered why they didn't just switch over at least to the SM58, because, that's specifically designed for vocals. But yeah, they didn't. They just kept on with the SM57. But there is more to that story, which I'll go into on my podcast.
All right.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I'd really the opportunity to work overseas, I'd really like it, if anyone's listening, to get a job in one of the big podcast production studios and to learn more about sound design. I really enjoy sound design. So, yeah. Shout out to all of the executives of big podcast studios that might want to employ me.
Yeah, you should just start reaching out to them and stuff, and just try to make contacts and do it, because it's one of those things where you might think like, oh, that I could never do that. That's like a needle in a haystack thing, but it's actually not. So if you go after it and be confident, and that's it, and just keep asking, keep approaching people, and
just keep hassling them.
Yeah, hassle them nicely.
Very nicely, very politely.
Very politely, until they say, God, would you stop? Okay, you're hired.
Now, I never want to hear from you again. All right. This has been great. I really want to thank you for not only coming on the show, but also sharing your screen, showing us what you're doing, and really talking us through it. I mean, this is great. This is so valuable for podcasters and podcast editors and producers all over the world, that listen to this show. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Oh, well, thanks for having me on the show. I really enjoyed being on the show, and your eyes didn't even glaze over once when I was talking about audio engineering, which is an unusual experience.
Yeah, well, no, and even the listeners of this show, we're all just maniacs. I'm telling you, we're not going to glaze over on anything. We love it.
I know, it's great. Where too much audio engineering is barely enough.
Oh, it's just great. We love it.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Corey. Like I said, Corey Marie Green. I'll put the links in the show notes to your book and also to all your social media. And so that'd be great. And also I want to thank everybody for listening and watching. This has been great. If you have any ideas for future guests for the show, let me know. And again, you can always send me a note at podcastengineeringschool.com. And that's it. So let's sign off, Corey. All right, let's wave to the camera. Isn't it the queen that waves that way or something? Who waves that way?
Yeah, the queen. Yeah,
the queen. Yeah. All right. How do kings wave?
I don't know. We haven't had a king for a long time.
All right. Anyway, see you guys. Bye.